Among the male homosexuals in Turkey, gays, travestis, bisexuals, and transsexuals, I focus on gays and the music performed by them. As Freud suggests that human being is governed by his or her instincts, among which sex is the most important factor affecting humans' behavior. So I go directly into details of his personality theory. I'm going to go briefly over them because I'm restricted with the time, Id, ego, and superego. I know that perhaps most of you are familiar with these terms and expressions. It translates the organism's needs into motivational forces, which has been translated as instincts or drives. It works in keeping with the pleasure principle, which can be understood as a demand to take care of needs immediately. Just picture the hungry infant screaming self-food. It doesn't know what it wants in any adult sense. It just wants it, and wants it, and wants it now. The infant is pure or nearly pure id. And it is nothing except the psychic representative of biology. Ego. During the first year of the child's life, some of the id becomes ego. The ego relates the organism to reality by means of its consciousness, and it searches for the objects to satisfy the wishes that it creates to represent the organism's need. The ego, unlike the id, functions according to the reality principles, which says take care of a need as soon as an appropriate object is found. It represents reality and to a considerable extent reason. Superego, however, as the ego struggles to keep the id and ultimately the organism happy, it meets with the obstacles in the world, but as well it occasionally meets with the objects that actually assist it in attaining its goal. And it keeps a record of these obstacles and aids. In particular, these records of things to avoid and strategies to take becomes the superego. It is not completed until about 7 years of age. In some people, it never is completed. Here, as I evaluate the gays' id as their instinct homosexual desires, which is blamed by their own ego and superego. I mean what they learn from outside society and family as ethical issues like Freud's definition for reason and rationality, which prevents and controls human desires and activities. There is a conflict in the gay's psyche as a result of the struggle between id and ego, and as a result of this conflict we can easily investigate the roots of their music performance characteristics, their aggression, their frank speech and dialogues, and their inclination toward feminine attitudes both in music and in Zenna's Oriental dancing. What are defense mechanisms? After definitions of id, ego, and superego, we are going to discuss defense mechanisms. Everyone, every of us may encounter with a situation that you have conflict in your inner world. The defense mechanisms is regarded for, is told for the gaze defense of human beings in order to save the organisms and finally saves you alive. The ego sits at the center of some pretty powerful forces, reality, society, and as represented by the superego, biology as represented by the id. When these make conflicting demands upon the poor ego, it is understandable if you feel threatened, overwhelmed, as if about to collapse under the weight of it all. This feeling is called anxiety, and it serves as a signal to the ego that is survival, and with it the survival of the whole organism is in jeopardy. The ego deals with the demands of reality, the id, and the superego as best as it can, but when the anxiety becomes overwhelming, the ego must defend itself. It does so by unconsciously blocking the impulses or distorting them into a more acceptable, less threatening form. The techniques are called the ego defense mechanisms. just imagine that the poor ego has located at the center, at the meanwhile, and there are impulses and forces from outside world. Some from the initial desires of the homosexuals, and the other ones, the superego. These impulses cannot be bared or stand through ego, and the ego is going to block them or direct it in order to save the whole organism's life. Now I just briefly try to mention several defense mechanisms, and then coming up with the discussion of gay musicians' reaction to inside it and outside impulses as environmental, social and cultural forces over them in Turkey. First off, I took just 4 defense mechanisms because I have no enough time in order to discuss all the defense mechanisms. We have 11 defense mechanisms, and every one of them is death instinct and escapism. First, I look at the death instinct and everyone's unconscious desire to die. Life can be painful and exhausting process. There is easily, for the great majority of people in the world, more pain than pleasure in life, something we are extremely reluctant to admit. Death promises release from the struggle. I remember at the morning session, it was a threshold for the new existence. It was a definition of the death. The day-to-day evidence of the death instinct lies in our desire for peace, for escape from stimulation, our attraction to alcohol and narcotics, our penchant for escapist activities such as losing ourselves in books or movies, our craving for rest or sleep. Sometimes it presents itself openly as suicide or suicidal wishes. As Freud theorized, sometimes we direct it out away from ourselves in the form of aggression, cruelty, murder, and destructiveness. This kind of destructiveness and cruelty reflects in their language and turns it into a frank and yet somehow a rude discourse. The rude speech styles of the gays is nearly common all over the world, as I heard from my friends, and I searched the friends who live in the States and other parts of the world. At the same time, music plays a role of escapism. By losing themselves in music, they can get rid of powerful social superego impulses over their egos and their gay identity. Escapism can be figured out in the choice of gays' music repertoires, as well as generously uttered curses like "Yaşa gitsin, boş ver artık, kahrolsun bu dünya, içelim arkadaşlar, batsın bu dünya, ölümlü dünya." I'm going to translate in English. Yalancı dünya, anasını satayım, satmışım anasını, koy ver gitsin, kahpe dünya, kahpe felek, etc. Which can be almost translated as live it up, let it go, fuck it, damn this world, I don't give a fuck. Let this world sing, this world is not worthy. A word of lies, it is worthless. Like this. These are the curses, I don't know, is it the common in the other world? Other countries. Escapism, acting as a defense mechanism, helps the gays to forget, to avoid easily the unpleasant or suffocating aspects of Turkish culture, like strict traditions and religious regulations, and that threaten their gay identity. Most of them were abandoned by their religious families and began to hate Islam. Which defines Islam, defines homosexuality as levat or livata in Islamic regulation, which is a strictly prohibited act and even sentenced to death penalty, and it is going to carried out yet in some countries. And I was observant of one of them in Iran, as I am from Iran. The other one is displacement. The second defense mechanisms. You can, everyone, I offer you to investigate these defense mechanisms in your own world, and you may have a journey in your inner world, and you may get surprised with something that for the first time you see in yourselves. Displacement is the redirection of an impulse onto a substitute target. You know, the impulses comes over the poor ego, and the ego is going to protect them, blocks them. But it is not blocking process. It is redirection to substitute target. I mean the other target. If the impulse, the desire is okay with you, but the person you direct that desire toward is too threatening, you can displace to someone or something that can serve as a symbolic substitute. Someone who hates his or her mother may repress that hatred, but direct it instead towards, say, women in general. Someone who has not had the chance to love someone may substitute cats or dogs for human beings, Someone who feels uncomfortable with their sexual desires for a real person may substitute a fetish. Someone who is frustrated by his or her superiors may go home and kick a dog, beat up a family member, or engage in cross burning. Here, I'm not looking for the roots of displacement on gay musicians, but instead criticize the TV spectators and audience of gay music and the reasons of the popularity of such programs. Among the music shows broadcasting on Turkish TV channels, there are some programs led by gay musicians which are increasingly getting popular in Eastern Turkey and surprisingly among the women viewers. This is the point that I'm going to focus on. In Eastern Turkey, you know, the Eastern Turkey is known as its masculine and male-dominated culture. The most common cultural term in Turkey is Doğu kültürü. Eastern culture conveys the same concept literally. Females in general are looked down upon by their husbands. Females are sometimes confined in the house for housework by their husbands and have no chance to take part in the society activities. As a result, females feeling contemptuous unconsciously substitute their husbands, disguising masculine power as an unacceptable impulse, with the gay musicians on TV performing in a tender and gentle manner as an acceptable signal. So the disliked masculine figure begins to shatter, collapse in the psyche of women by non-stop watching the programs and episodes on TV that finally causes a mental satisfaction. And that was why I can guess that that's popular. Reasons of popularization of gay musicians' TV programs. Projection and altruistic surrender is the third defense mechanism. By projection, I mean the male population who listen and follow gay musicians. They are gay, but they conceal and they hide their gayness in the society. It is a kind of displacement outward that is almost a complete opposite of turning against the self. It involves the tendency to see your own unacceptable desires in other people. I'm going to repeat this because it's too important. It involves the tendency to see your own unacceptable desires in other people. Here, the person attempts to fulfill his or her own needs vicariously through other people. I turn towards the gay who conceal their gayness as a social group, pretending to be non-gay in order to comply with the strict social regulations, pretending thoroughly immersed in the social obligations, overwhelmed by their initial same-sex desire. As a dominant, each force tend to fulfill their own needs vicariously. Introjection and identification. This is the last defense mechanism, and then I am going to go into the characteristics of gay performance. Sometimes called identification involves taking onto your own personality characters of someone else, because doing so solves some emotional difficulty. For example, a child who is left alone frequently may in some way try to become mom in order to lessen his or her fears. You can sometimes catch them telling their dolls or animals not to be afraid, and we find the other child or teenager imitating his or her favorite star, musician or sport hero in an effort to establish an identity. A more unusual example is the case of a woman who lived next to my grandmother's grandparents. Her husband had died and she began to dress in his clothes. She began to take up several of his habits, such as smoking a pipe, although the neighbors found it strange and referred to her as the man-woman. She was not suffering from any confusion about her sexual identity. In fact, she later remarried, retaining her men's suit and pipe till the ends of her life. Reviewing the list of gay singers in Turkey, one can easily come across with two famous singers who are considered as pioneers in this regard, Zeki Müren and Bülent Ersoy. Throughout my research, I realized the fact that most of gay musicians in Istanbul music market try to imitate and follow them, not just because of getting famous, but in order to dress in their clothes, ways and trends by shaping out their identity in such a way that it would socially be acceptable. I think they are preserving their identity. The identification and introjection can be observed in their dressing style, way of talking, body movements, choice of repertoires, etc. The next part is thoroughly my own observation about the gays as the result of the interviews that I did through my research. Self-confidence, main features in gay music performance. One of them is self-confidence. The main feature which distinguishes the gay singers from non-gays lies in the self-confidence being easily observed in their performance. I believe that this is not a normal approach, as it seems to be somehow exaggerating in their music and have certainly roots in their gayness. As I evaluated, it comes up with their lives and may be the results of the reflection towards being isolated in the society, and again a flashback to their childhood and family environment. Most of gays admitted to have suffered from the attitude of the family and friends at school initially, and then at their social lives and careers as being looked down upon. It may be quite clear from the statements of Hakan, who is a gay singer and works in the Yeşilyurt Sport Club in Istanbul. He was saying that I used to be called as Top Hakan. Top refers to the title called to in Turkish culture and slang. It refers to male sex, especially a child exposed to sexual abuse by the same sex. I used to be called Top Hakan. He was suffering by my classmates. Subsequently, a feeling of isolation prevails in their personality. As they grow up and take part in social activities, they come to respond their pre-established mental conflict, trying to establish the fact that they are also exist in this world. The only public place for gays to prove themselves and to convince the social idea of their existence is gay bars and the nightclubs, as I found in my research, in which the gays not only perform but also fulfill the shaping of their social characters and meanwhile meeting their needs. So forming a new character would certainly result in self-confidence and eventually will lead to a nice performance. It has been mentioned as gays' idea about the stage. Let me be myself. I want to be myself. I want to find myself. In fact, the stage is where they can be themselves. Self-confidence in their performance consolidates the idea of taking a special place in the society while they are spiritually satisfied as being able to express their gains. The most important factor, I need just two more, is the last page.
Okay, 2 minutes.
2 minutes,
Yeah. I'll remind you when you're on.
Okay. One of the important factors that the reasons of why gay bars or bars, nightclub owners prefer gay musicians to as their permanent artists lies here in the fact that gays subside men's jealousy. Subside, by subside I mean calms down, lowers men's jealousy. The other fact that plays an important role in gays' performance in Istanbul resides in the gays' freedom in circulating at every corner of the bar and using and making a direct relationship with both men and women, paying no effort to overcome the fear of facing any kind of jealousy on behalf of the man, which is almost common everywhere in the world. As everyone knows, it is a common fear of men to see their wives being attracted to other males, and at the same time a common jealousy on behalf of women towards their husbands to see a beautiful lady may possibly attract their men's attention. Typically, a Turkish family will absolutely feel quite at ease and lead a better time in recreation and entertainment, aware of the fact that a gay singer would not absolutely evoke any sense of jealousy in both men and women, while in performing a non-gay singer, men's jealousy begins to flourish, especially if the singer is a bit handsome. Gay artists feel themselves quite free in making contact with ladies, even embracing them and dancing with them, etc., while the husbands are talking and entertaining together on the table. This freedom on the stage results in a successful performance and obtaining a huge popularity, while non-gay artists have to restrict their relationship with the opposite sex audience, so subsequently weakens their performance. As we know, one of the reasons of a successful performance is establishing a rapport with the audience. This relationship involves making eye contact, the bilateral dialogues of the singer and the audience between the songs and the repertoires in the intervals, as well as cooperating and co-singing of a song by both the singer and the audience. I mean, the audience is singing along with the singer. The singer approaching to the gay singer approaching to their table embraces a person from the table and singing a part of a song together. Gay singers behave in their own authority in this field, as Hakan continuously did in Yeşilyurt Spor Club. This frank and non-elevated, rude speech style, one of the main characteristics of gays in Turkey being rooted in music as well, has been located in their most common frank and non-elevated rude speech style. There is so common that it is there is so common, and it is a typical behavior of gays in Istanbul that you can easily observe if you have even strolled at Taksim, Tarlabaşı, Harbi, and İstiklal Caddesi areas of Istanbul at any time of the day, especially afternoons and nights. The rudeness of their languages has been generalized and privileged in all aspects of gays and social lives, even music performance, especially at the dialogues on the stage and even TV programs. At the same time, this could lower the formality of the performance, and subsequently results in a popularity of gays music and leading a successful TV programs. As you know, it may be a contradictory relationship between the formality and the performance, especially regarding gay music. My last topic is about Zennas Oriental dancing. Perhaps you have heard of Zennas. Zennas are males dressing in female form and dancing Oriental dance. During my interview at Regatta Bar Complex, I came across with a Zenna whose name was Erdem. He was a gay too. He superficially disclosed his private life and his childhood. Erdem indicated that when he was a child, he learned female-type dancing with his grandmother, who was a famous Egyptian dancer living in Istanbul. He clarified how his inside female feelings influenced his dance learning project. Erdem believed that neither non-gay dancers nor the females as well will ever be able to accomplish these tests, since he believed that he was worshipping during the dance. It turns into a kind of ritual, so that Zennas are able to leave spectators in an astonished mood. He mentioned that Oriental dancing is not such a thing that can come from without. One should feel it, blending the female feelings with the body movements, and exposing some parts of the body nude in the view of the spectators as he acts in the frameworks of a lady. That's all. Thank you for your
Thank you
listening.
very much. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations on explaining Freudian theory in 10 minutes. That's something I thought it could not be done. Yes, it is. It's very difficult. Unfortunately, we only have 5 minutes for questions because I don't want Miss Aral to miss the time she has been allocated. So, could we start there?
I have 2 questions, and I'll try and make them brief. The first is there any historical precedent for gays being involved in Oriental dancing? Historical precedent? Do you see this as being a new phenomenon, or sort of a kind of lineage that began in Ottoman times? And what have you perceived of as being the ethnicity of the gay musicians, or the dancers in particular? When I say ethnicity, I mean Turkish, Roman.
Yes.
So those are my questions.
Gays music history may Zennas, Oriental dancing, may be date back to several hundred years ago, but as I know, it is another kind branch of study that should be taken into consideration. But as I heard during my research, there was a term with the collab oğlan and oğlancılık in Turkish culture during the Ottoman period in Turkish. I didn't go into details of this because it was too vast, and I couldn't gather the meaning of. I couldn't gather the whole meanings of this research.
I was just thinking that that might attribute the confidence to this kind of lineage. That was my way of thinking.
And the ethnicity?
I didn't understand your second question. Would you please?
Oh, ethnicity?
Mm-hmm. No. Your second question, I forgot it.
You answered it.
I answered your second, but I was answering your first one.
No, I was asking about lineage.
Okay.
You answered that, but ethnicity, I was curious about that.
Okay.
One more question then. Somewhere? Please?
Yansıtma ve özdeşleştirme mekanizmalarından bahsettiniz. Bunları bir süre